Good evening. Hello, everybody hear me? Welcome, glad to see so many folks here this evening for our meeting. We got a couple of items to take care of business-wise, and then we've got trying something different. Instead of a speaker, we're gonna show a video of how to do splits, because it's time to do those. If you're not already doing it, it's time to do it. And so we're gonna try that here after a while, but some business items first is I guess our apparel, our Beak, I call it Beak Apparel promotion is now over. And that has been turned in, and Patty tells me that the garments should be ready in about a week or so. And my thought was that we would gather those together and bring them to the next meeting and distribute them. And what's left over after that, John Smith has agreed to yeah, you said it. I've got it on the second page. To allow folks to come pick them up at his store. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
I have a question since you're on the garments. Does the club get anything out of sales?
Just a lot of trouble.
We get a good price on shirts.
No,
Did-
you don't.
Did we get enough
$8
orders?
a t-shirt is not a good price.
$20 is what mine was gonna end up costing.
Did you need $20 to buy you a t-shirt?
I won't pay $20.
If you
I
wanted to
didn't
be
know.
all and all that stuff.
Anyway, Robert,
Did you get enough orders to make this worth it?
I don't know.
We don't have a way of seeing, I
We
just kept
don't know
testing
that till
Gunner and saying, how many do we have people responded, so we don't see the list. With the online store, we don't see it.
So, anyway, this is the first time of doing this, and, so we don't know how it's gonna work, whether it's too much trouble, and I think it's not too painful the way we're doing it.
Right. It was
Patty
a-
might disagree, but.
Was it easier on you guys?
Oh, Lord, you mean. Oh, and the second.
But it's,
Oh, this should be.
pretty
this part.
painless,
It's
but,
like-
something that it has demonstrated or kind of realized going through this is that I don't think we really got the response that we had hoped to make it worth trouble. But some of that could be because people don't know about it. And what I realize is that as far as the club really needs a better way of communicating with each other, because right now the only way we have of communicating with the club members are during a meeting or on Facebook. And so at any given time, that could probably miss half the people in the club. So I'm trying to set up, I found an app that will send out group text. I'm not wanting to use my own message thing for it, because I don't want to clutter up my personal contact list with you all. Not that I have any against most of you. But anyway, but I'm trying to do a cheap version, and so it's kind of messy getting it started. And what I plan to do is take the information from our membership rolls. I think I can send it either email or text. But what it seems like it's doing is every time you add somebody, everybody gets a message that so-and-so's been added to the group. Olivia knows a better way, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah, they used this app when I was in school, it's called Remind, and what I would do, I would help you do it, and, I mean, it's an app, but you sign in through the app, and the app sends out the messages and the emails for you, so you wouldn't have anything added to your phone, and it wouldn't send those messages, it would just only send what you want it to send.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you about it later, cause the thing I was looking at is called GroupMe. or something
Oh,
like-
yeah,
and which is free,
yeah,
but it's kind of messy to set it up.
yeah, because it's a whole, the only way it'll send messages is if everybody has that app. Remind sends it
No,
through
these
text
just,
message.
no, you don't, on GroupMe, you just, I've tested it, you don't have to have the app to send it out. I've done it with only 3 people, but it doesn't work. Anyway, but I'm open to anything that, I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to come up with a way of communicating with all of the club members.
You mean this thing you sent me was just, if I was a guinea pig or?
Yeah, exactly.
I was too.
Let me ask you, Ron, everybody has a cell phone, I know that they do. Not everybody has an email address. Does everybody in this room have their own email address? Okay,
I think the GroupMe one anyway, you can use either one.
okay. What about text messaging on the phone? That might be easier.
That's how Remind works.
It does
Oh,
both.
Yeah,
That's
remind
that's
them
how
to
it's
either
done, it's
phone calls.
mostly, it's either email, I guess it's, you go in and you create the message and then you send it out, and if the person is in their address book as an email, they get an email.
Okay.
If they're in there as a text, as just a phone number, they get a text, that's the way I understand it.
So on this remind thing, is there a reply all feature on there? Cause that's the thing that's awful about group text, like
Yeah.
I don't mind getting
So-
them, but I don't want to get everybody else's things.
For-
and blah, blah, blah.
Right,
For
it's
Remind,
crazy.
it's sent as individual, so if you reply, it'll send us like, I'm only sending the message to you, but in reality, I'm sending it to a group of people. But if you reply to the sender, it only sends it to the sender. It's.
The schools use it a lot to notify parents of stuff, and it avoids that problem right there.
Other than that, I can't hear you.
A lot of the schools use Remind to notify parents of whatever, and it doesn't have the problem you're talking about. When you reply, it only goes to the official that sent it, like.
Yeah, now,
that sounds
the
perfect.
thing about some of those little more sophisticated ones like that, now like Remind, I know our church does something like that,
Mhm.
and you really don't have the capability of responding to it, but they pay $50 a month for that app to use that, so.
This one is free, so
uh,
I can
so-
show you, yeah. I use it for a lot of different things
Okay,
because,
so anyway, I'll talk with Dick and we can work that out, but anyway, I wanna come up with a better way of communicating with people to make sure that everybody hears, you know, if we got some news, that everybody hears it and, like that. What else we got here? Okay. As far as the beekeeper's calendar, I'm not going to go into the official one, and I'll just tell you what's going on. Swarms. Swarms are happening right now, and, I've got 2 stories to tell you. Y'all up for a beekeeping story or 2?
Yep.
How long?
Not very long. One is that, remember last time we talked to you about, well, it's, you know, bees are building up, but you gotta really watch them, because sometimes they build up beyond their capacity to support themselves with resources and they can starve to death. Well, I did that. And I'm blaming it on my knee. I've got a brand new knee, but it's not broken in yet, so I'm behind on stuff. But I finally got out and kind of got a piece of leather and stuck it in my mouth and well, just toughed on through started going through my hives, and I had one hive that was probably the strongest hive that I had. Had is the operative word. They, apparently, they had built up this spring, me not knowing it, cause I couldn't get out, literally couldn't get out there to check them. But then we had that cold snap and they just didn't have enough resources to sustain themselves and generate heat during that cold snap, and basically the whole hive died, and they had like 5-gallon bucket full of dead bees in the box. So just a lesson is kind of past that now, but next year, pay attention to that, because that March is a real precarious time, because it's warm and it's cold, and they build up and eat all their honey, and cold comes along and it can be bad news. Now, a little happier story. Went into another hive today. It's one that's in a friend's place over in Johnson County, and said, well, I hadn't checked that hive. I gotta go see if it's even still alive. And I got out there, and there's all sorts of bees flying around. And that's good. And got into the hive, and I said, uh-oh, because I found probably 40 or 50 swarm cells in this thing. And I go, okay, this is not good. And so I got to go into the hive, and it became apparent that, okay, this hive has already swarmed. I mean, that swarm it's gone. And so I was grousing, because I said, everything is because of my knee, It's not my bad beekeeping, it's my knee. But anyway, I was thinking, oh darn, I'm kind of grousing, because I usually put out a swarm trap in this area, and if they swarm, a lot of times I catch them. But of course, because of the darn knee, I haven't got a swarm trap out. So I'm knowing I missed this swarm. I'm so mad. And I got through there, and I started, so well, I've got to destroy. They don't need to have 40 queen cells in here, so they really need to have 2. Okay. So anyway, I'm going through there, kind of picking out ones that I thought should be worth saving. And I come across one that said, man, that looks like a really good one, and I'll leave it. But then I noticed that, well, there's a little ring around the top of it. It's damaged. I don't need that one. I was just about to scrape it off, and the little hinge flops open, and queen comes out of it. So that's the first time I saw that. That's pretty neat. So anyway, all the rest of the queen cells became irrelevant at that point. But anyway, I'm going on. I put it all back together. I'm still kind of irritated because I lost that swarm. And so anyway, I got back to the truck. Of course, I parked my truck right by the hive because I don't want to walk because of this darn knee. I'm going to start my YouTube channel called A Crippled Beekeeper. But anyway, there's bees buzzing all around me, and I said, well, if I take my veil off now, I'm going to get stung for sure. So what I do sometimes, I just get in my truck and roll the windows down with a bee suit on, and I'll drive a little ways, and bees leave, and then I can stop and take my bee suit off. So I drove 50 yards. I'm still in the pasture where I had the bees. So, this is a good place to stop and take my bee suit off. And so I stop and I look out the window, and they're just like about from me to Olivia there, inside the road. About this tall off the ground was a swarm about so big around on a pine tree, on a limb about big as my thumb, right out on the end of it, just kind of sagging like that. So anyway, I had my bucket in the back of the truck, and kind of had to kind of scoop it up under that, cut off one limb, and I already had my bee suit on. And so it's probably the easiest swarm I've ever caught. So I'm almost 99.9% sure that it had to have come from my hive probably that morning. This morning. So anyway, that's my story that kind of turned out good.
Bless the knee.
Yeah.
That my great knee, my brand new knee. Anyway, that's all I've got, and I think we're ready for Robert. You want to come set up our video? So Will, are gonna show this video? Do you have a question?
No, I have something to offer to your first story. Cause you said that, well, we're past that at this time as far as the starvation part.
Oh, maybe not.
Not so true, because, Saturday I got in line, and my biggest hive was, I didn't see any nectar at all. And I told you, I put some fondant on throughout the winter. And this one went through 5 patties where others didn't even finish one. So you need to be on top of, all I'm trying to say is, we need to be looking for what's.
Well, I hate to admit it, but Phil's exactly right.
We write that on the calendar. That's not often.
How much longer do we need to wait till the nectar comes?
Oh, it's gonna be.
Nobody knows.
Probably gonna be, what, third week in April maybe? or
Most
something?
of the time,
Weather related,
but-
rain related.
But I would say though that generally speaking, again, it may be off a week or two, but I would say about 3 weeks from today, the nectar flow should be on heavy, about the middle of April.
When the privet
When-
blooms.
Look at whenever the blackberries bloom and privet blooms, that's our nectar flow, really. So watch that stuff, because when you see blackberries, not the dewberries, which are probably blooming real soon, but blackberry bushes and privet, that's when they make their honey.
I noticed some privets today, just budding out, it ain't bloomed yet, but it's fixing to.
So, but that's usually about second week of April. Okay. And after we'll, John? Anybody got any questions? I'm sure you do. You should have.
What time of day were you doing your split?
Most all the time, depending on weather, I like to start, if I'm split, around 10. Around 10 a.m. You got a lot of foragers out, that's gonna make it easier for you to locate your queens and see what's in on the frames. The closer you get towards dark, the more populated that hive will be.
Did everybody hear that question and answer? Do I need to repeat it?
John, what if you got 2 deeps full of brood, no queen excluder, and just chock full of bees? It makes it difficult to find the queen.
Well, if you can't find her, just find that frame that's got the eggs.
Okay,
And then take out, that frame and 5 populated ones, push it all together, drop frames in, go back 9 days and see if the cells are in it or if you accidentally moved her.
It's called a walkaway split. And if you look at our website, one of those videos, I believe that James Ryan, he doesn't, actually do one, and he simulates it, but he talks about that.
right.
And when I've done a walkaway split like that, and they're sitting next to each other, wait 2 or 3 days and just swap the boxes. And so you get your drift, they may drift back to your original box they were coming from, switch the boxes, and, you'll kinda equalize some of that drift, so it's another little trick, I guess. Is that the way to do it, John?
There's almost no wrong way.
I've read that somewhere, you just switch the boxes after several days and it kinda equalizes that drift.
So, I've got some places I can take it to, but if I move them 50 yards apart, is that enough space?
Yes, you could take and break that top box off, put it on the bottom board, put a cover on it.
And move
And
it?
you got a full box and a full box. Within literally 5 days, somebody's pulling queen cells. Now, the problem with doing that is you need to understand, those bees immediately need a box on top of them. Cause they're both loaded with brood, right?
Right.
All that brood's gonna hatch. They could both set cells, because even with the queen, now they're congested. So that queen's still going, this is the same scenario, I'm gonna check out. So they make cells in it anyway. But you can split 2, put ample space on them, go back to them, one of them's gonna be having the cells, the other one should not.
Right.
If it didn't have cells when you split.
So if I've got two deep broods, split it, put it on a bottom board and a cover, and put two medium supers on there, and watch it in 5
Right,
days.
A medium super on each one for them to be able to expand, yep.
You pull those four frames off of different boxes, if I got, 6 hives there and I wanna pull 2 frames out of each to make a couple of new boxes, are you gonna? have too
You
many mixed
can
bees in
do
there?
resources, you can't take bees and resources
No,
and
I'm-
put them all together. Is that what you asked
No,
me?
I'm asking, can I take, if I'm picking frames, like one that's got a lot of brood on it in one box, and then another box maybe has some resources in it, it's got a few bees, and I'm just picking a frame out of, 3 or 4 different boxes to have my 4 in the new one.
You can do that if you're not, like I said, if you're not leaving the bees from each hive and putting them in there.
It's, I think what it's saying is that, yeah, if you could take, say, you got these two, this box that they're working with the split, and I'm trying to, I think I understand what he's saying. And so I've got another box over here, unrelated to this, that's got a bunch of bees in it. Can I take bees or frames of resources from this box, unrelated box over here? And I would say yes, but shake the bees off, just bring the cat brood or open
Just
brood.
frame, not the bees on
You
it.
take the bees, they're gonna fight.
You
They're gonna
say you wanna
fight.
add 2 frames of cat brood, go get them out of something, shake the bees off and put them in there, sure.
But if you needed the bees, it's no harm in taking the bees with you.
Because
it's
they'll
gonna-
probably kill each other.
No, no.
They will. Sometimes they will, sometimes they'll. I've watched it happen. I've done that very thing. I put them in there and they immediately kill them all.
I've never had that, so.
I have.
So you can say.
You roll the dice on it.
What frame do you want out of this one?
You just don't want foragers.
Yeah, if you got nurse bees, they're a lot less likely to do that than foragers, I think. I have a question. What if, like the hive that doesn't have the queen, and you've got your frame marked, and you come back in your 8-9 days and no queen cells? What do you do then?
Oh, it's all gone bad, just. You can go to the hive you split her into and get a frame of eggs, okay?
Do it again?
Take it back to them. And if they won't produce one then, you may want to even consider combining that hive back with that queen till it starts rolling again, and then try your split over again.
I got a
You
question.
can buy a queen, the problem is, like the particular day that I did this was March 22nd, I think, that year, which is pretty early. The only way I could have got a queen to have made a split with my queen and add a queen would have been I'd had to order that queen out of state in advance. Well, I guess maybe Hawaii, Southern California, somebody would have had a queen. But you're banking, you're putting all this in time. That donor hive's gonna take them 16 days to have a queen. Okay, so in that time, you've got your drone field is being appropriated, so your mating when that queen comes out takes, there's a lot to it. But I think the success with that split is far greater than the failures. Due to the fact that at the time the stars align, the weather and the bees and the nectar coming in, it's almost a win. I left enough nurse bees. I probably left 50-50. I took 50, I left 50, took the queen out, they represented the realized in 24 hours, no queen. Well, they made, trust me, more than one cell. And then like you did with the one that had swarmed, you go in, you pick your pristine cells, tear them down, leave those two. 20 days-ish, you're gonna go back, you ought to see larvae You could, at that point, you could even see some capping started over Bruce. It works. It works well. There's a lot working for you this time of year. And those bees were set up with the cell cups. They were probably within a week and a half of actual having swarm cells hanging in there. So when that mindset starts, they're gonna put in cells, whether she's there or not.
If you were in a split, if you know you have a queen, and you put her in her new box, with her new setup, since she thinks she has already swarmed, and you move her like 100 feet away, close the cage up or block the sun, would those bees stay with her, since it's like it would have been a swarm, or is that still too close to leave her to the original yarn?
No, it's like the one method I told you, you make this split, and they're sitting right here. You make that split, you move her back to the original location, move that box over, let it set for a minute, open those doors up, all your field bees at this point, they're already coming in piling up on the screen one minute. So, 50 yards or 2 feet, 90% of those bees, but mostly important, all of your nurse bees. And then within days, you've got emerging bees.
Babies.
Yeah, that are born to that location. And then it'll go on populate.
So they won't go.
They will not all leave her and go home.
So talk about the buildup and next. So how does that look for honey production? Is your donor hive gonna produce more? Is she gonna produce more and she builds up?
Both
Like,
split and donors.
Okay,
Make
what we're running into here is people here can't hear your question.
repeat it for me, Ron.
Well, I can't hear
You
your
got it
question.
right.
You got the power.
Yeah. I'll say it again in my outdoor voice, right? So I said, which of those two is gonna be better for honey production? Is
Okay,
it
the
your
question
donor hive
is,
or your new queen?
Which of those two halves is gonna be the best honey producer come nectar flow? And the answer
My
is?
answer is, they should both produce you honey.
But
Assuming the stars stay in alignment.
Really and truly, there was one year that I made these splits just like that. Before I could get supers put on the split, they started swarming. They built up that quick because of the nectar flow. Your nectar flow determines the growth of these bees. Well, what had happened is that like every split or every swarm I get, they immediately get feed. Okay? They're getting feed and that nectar flow starts, they'll comb out those 3 or 4 foundation frames and be setting cells. So it's all about staying with them and getting them built and then being ready when that flow hits.
So I think that the answer is, we really don't know. It could be either one.
In my opinion, I think they will both do well. I bought 3 colonies in May, then I caught swarms in February and March. And the swarms, if you've got a good established colony this time of the year, they will outperform tenfold what you get in May. Now this is only our 3rd year, Julie and I, and this is the first year we've overwintered bees. Last year was the first year I caught swarms, and you know how bad a season it was last year as far as the nectar flow and the dry. We didn't get rain for 40 days. We harvested 90% of our honey from the swarms I caught in February and March, and we didn't take any honey off the 3 colonies that we bought in May. But our first year, the honey flow was awesome, and we didn't expect to get any honey. We only bought 2 hives. We got them in May, and we got 7 gallons of honey out of those 2 hives. The second year, we got 17 gallons of honey out of the 2 swarms that I caught in February and March versus we didn't take any honey in May. So it makes a big difference if you have an established colony for our area to have them going strong now. I think as long as the nectar flow is decent, you'll have a good honey crop. I mean, that's my opinion, that's what
Well,
I've
I
seen in
think
action.
what I've always saying is that you gotta have the 3 R's. You gotta have the right bees in the right location at the right time. You gotta have all 3 of those things lined up. Now, problem with you new beekeepers, that's just the way it is that the bees for nukes that are produced locally are usually not available until May. That's just the limits of the production, which is typically the tail end of our nectar flow. So that's why we say that typically, not always, that a brand new colony that you get in May, a nuke, is probably not going to harvest enough honey for you to harvest. That's not to say it can't happen, it won't happen, but it's not likely to. So and that's just the way it is.
Right.
And so the challenge is to get those bees through the summer, through the winter, and be ready to go next spring, and not have them swarm to death. Which is a challenge. I guess that's why, I don't know, that's kind of the way I like it. Beekeeping is there's always a challenge, something to learn. You just have to work at it. But anyway, I think we're about ready to wind up. We're gonna do our door prizes.